Welcome to Open for Discussion. As we continue to celebrate Women's History Month, I have a woman here making history of her own. She's a real estate lawyer and she's going to help us answer some questions that I'm sure we are all thinking about. With all further ado, let's welcome Olo Musa. Olo, thank you so much for coming on the show today. Olo and I have been friends for, I don't even know how long we've been friends for, but it's been quite some time.
A couple of years.
A couple? It's been more than a couple of years.
Okay.
It's been a long time, and I'm so happy that you're able to join us today. So would you like to introduce yourself and just let us know who you are and what you do for a living?
Sure.
Okay.
My name is Olo. I'm a real estate lawyer.
Okay.
That's what I do for a living.
Yeah.
I've been doing real estate law since I started about 5 years ago. I practice real estate and I thoroughly enjoy it.
Right. I remember when we first met, I think you were just finishing up law school.
I was, yes.
And you weren't in real estate, so you kind of dibble-dabbled in like other stuff, right?
In a way, yes. So like in law school, I tried to take all the courses that I thought were interesting: employment, business, real estate, etc. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I mean, initially I wanted to be a social justice lawyer and like work for or with underserved communities and like advocate the cause of the, underserved. Okay. But like it's hard to do that because there's no firm really. There aren't that many firms that practice social justice law, if you can call anything that. So it's hard to like do it as a business. But then at the end of towards the end of law school, when I took my real estate course, I think I started getting interested in it. Okay. And then I articled. So articling is basically like an apprenticeship that you do with another lawyer. You train under an experienced lawyer for 10 months. Before you get called to the bar. So I articled with a lawyer that practiced family law and real estate law. And I hated the family. I was like, this is not what I went to law school for. Like people arguing about times of like visits. I was like, no. But I loved the real estate. So she saw that I loved real estate. She was actually primarily a family lawyer and she only did real estate to add to her practice. So she just let me like run with real estate and that's how I learned. I learned on the job and I really liked it and then just kept going from there.
Okay. So it was a woman, obviously. She had her own firm.
Yes.
Oh, which is awesome because we're celebrating Women's History Month.
Yes.
How do you feel about celebrating Women's History Month right now?
I mean, I think it's great.
Yeah. Like, do you feel empowered as a woman in your industry at all? Like, is there anything that, really stands out for Women's History Month to you? Or is it just like a regular month to you?
I mean, talking about my industry, I think that, it's so good that we're beginning to see many more women in law.
Yeah.
It used to just be an old boys club, but now we're seeing a lot of women. There's still work to be done, but we're seeing more women come into the profession. So it's nice to have female colleagues. It's nice to have, other lawyers in other firms that are women, and you can see like we're all working together. And we even have there's a Facebook group for like lady lawyers, and it's just so nice to see it's just so nice to see people supporting and like people come to vent, people come to ask for help, find business, you know, and it's nice to see that kind of support from fellow women. So
it's like a sisterhood almost.
Exactly. So, I mean, I think that this month is important. It's, people say you should celebrate things every day, but how often do we actually take time to reflect? Anytime that we get the chance to reflect on how far we've come and the things that we still need to do to progress, I think it's beneficial.
Right, yeah. And just to say, like when you said people say we should celebrate things every day, I totally agree with that because for me personally, I feel like as human beings, we tend to we tend to get comfortable with things, right? So like even like, you know, your husband or your mom or whatever, like there's Mother's Day and your lover or whatever, you get accustomed to them, you get used to the things they do all the time. So it's always nice when there's that special time, like, you know, to celebrate them, right?
Yeah.
And to reflect on them. So that's really awesome. Okay, so you're a real estate. Do you love being a real estate lawyer? Obviously, you chose to be a real estate lawyer.
Yes.
So you love.
I love it. I joke that, you know, some other lawyers, their job is to like help their clients fight. Everybody's fighting. Nobody's happy. Because at the end of the day, when you sue someone, you're like, I'll sue you, and like, you know, I will get everything back, but you don't. Like that's not how the law works. You know, like it has to be reasonable. So you know, other lawyers have to deal with that constant high stress. But I get to say congratulations a lot, and you know, it's always so nice. Like, congrats, your deal has closed. Congrats on your first home. Congrats, you know, on your sale. You know, and to be able to guide people through basically the biggest transaction of their lives. You know, like how many people are business people that will deal with millions of dollars, but when you talk about real estate, especially in the GTA, you know, it's the biggest transaction for a lot of people, and to be able to work with people on that and guide them, and at the end of the day say congratulations, it's enjoyable.
Right, that's so true. You know, it's so funny you say that, and now that I think about it, I've never really thought about this before, but you know, seeing that we were friends and I've known you for a while, like Olo does not lie, guys. She does not tell no lies. She's very honest, and you know, we're Christians, but she takes hers to another level, like the level that Jesus wanted to be on. But she's a very honest person. So thinking of Olo, you know, because obviously a lot of people say lawyers are liars, right? But it's crazy that, you know, you're a lawyer and you obviously ended up in real estate, which is something that you do congratulate people. You don't really have to fight, so you're not covering up the truth or anything like that. I never thought about that until just now.
Yeah, so that's interesting. There is the opportunity to lie in real estate when it comes to like mortgages. Like some people, you know, it's so tough right now, and so some people get a mortgage and then they lie to the bank about where the source of funds, what the source of funds is.
That's true.
And then the bank tells me, because what happens is that banks usually use the same lawyer to close, the same lawyer you would choose as a purchaser, right? The banks will hire that same lawyer just because it's more convenient to do their own legal work, because it's for them, like I guess it's because residential loans are not that serious, like you know, that big for them. Like they don't need specialized counsel to protect their interests, especially because of the amount. I guess. So a lot of banks use the same lawyers, and then they be like, oh, one of the conditions is make sure there's no secondary financing, meaning like there's no second mortgage coming after, and then you have to make sure that there isn't with your clients. And you know, some people might lie about that, and you know your client is getting a second mortgage, but you just like sign a fake thing that says. So there is the option to do so, especially with mortgages, I would say. But generally, no, it's generally a happy area. Well, I mean, there are fights, obviously, like, oh, the fridge handle is broken. I went into the house and the fridge handle is broken or whatever. People fight, and you know, there's stress in real estate because it's so time sensitive. But generally, it's happy. Generally, I like it.
Okay, that's good. So you managed to keep your integrity throughout.
Yes, I would say so. Yes.
That's good. That's awesome. I love that. Okay, so for someone that is a woman, let's say a young lady out there watching who's in law school, and she's not really sure which which direction to go in terms of like choosing what area in law she should do, like, and she feels maybe pressure, you know, what advice would you give her? Like, what would you tell her to?
I would say the best thing to do is to get like a summer job. I don't know what's like, depending on your year in law school, to get a summer job and just try. Because sometimes what you think you really enjoy is not what you enjoy. Like for me with social justice, the way I don't even know how to explain how I envisioned it. But then I got like I did a semester at a legal clinic, and it was a good experience, but it wasn't something that I wanted to do as a full-time career. And so imagine if I hadn't had that experience, I would have graduated looking for a job like that, and then it could have taken me a while to figure out that I wanted something else. So I would say actually get a summer job, or just get like look at the courses that tend to interest you.
Okay.
You'll be so surprised at the courses that people are good at. Like you might go into law school thinking this is what I want, and then you're good at this course that you just took because it fits in your schedule.
Right.
So try to get work experience in that area and see, you know, if that's something that you're good at and that you enjoy, and then that's an easy way to make it a career.
Okay. So real estate lawyers. What is a real estate lawyer?
So yeah, a real estate lawyer basically is someone who closes transactions.
Okay.
I mean, we can draft agreements, but the tendency is that the real estate agent will show the house, will show the house to their clients and then put an offer in.
Okay.
When they submit an offer to a seller, assuming you're asking for the buyer, when you submit an offer to the seller and the seller accepts that offer, it becomes a binding agreement of purchase and sale. Then you send your agreement of purchase and sale to your lawyer. And then your lawyer does all the due diligence, investigates title, make sure that the property or everything you've contracted for is what you're actually getting.
Right.
And that's why we call it a closing. So you start, the beginning, if you want to say, of the process is when you put that agreement together. And then the closing is when the deal is finalized. So our job is to finalize the deal.
Okay.
So if you contracted for, you know, like all the washing machines in the house, let's say there are 2 washing machines are included, and you contracted for a property that is on this side of the road and includes the shed and blah, blah, blah. And then on the day of closing, the seller has removed, the funny one is the seller removed the hot tub.
Oh my, and that was supposed to be a part of the...
Yeah, it was supposed to be part of the thing.
And
they took the hot tub. So, you know, things happen. So it's the lawyer's job to make sure that everything you've contracted for, the house you contracted for, is legally the house that you're getting.
So you can't change your mind. You can't be like, you know what, I'm going to take my...
Unless you enter into like an amending agreement with the person. But if the agreement doesn't provide for the option to change your mind, you're basically bound by it. That's the whole point of signing it.
Right.
So, you know, so if you've contracted for, you know, a house on one side of the road, and this person has told you, hey, I own this property. Our job is to make sure they truly own the property. Like you search title, make sure that they're registered owners, and that they have the power and the rights to sell this to you, because there's a lot of fraud in real estate, unfortunately, because it's such high dollar amounts. So it's just, we have to do our due diligence, and then we are the ones that transfer the funds between so the buyer's lawyer is the one that transfers the funds to the seller's lawyer. And also another thing we do is, like I said, act for mortgage companies to make sure that your mortgage goes through. So we also do the due diligence for the mortgage company as well. So yeah, that's basically what we do.
In a nutshell.
Make sure you understand what you're signing when you give TD. You know, when TD gives you $600,000 and they say these are all the things you agree to for this, that you understand that they mean it. You know.
Okay. So, is it expensive to get a real estate lawyer?
No, it's not. It's not.
Oh, the way you answered that, there was a lot of passion in that answer.
I am so passionate about this because I find that we're the least paid of real estate professionals.
Really?
Yes, we are.
Less than real estate agents? Really?
Girl, real estate agents get percentages. I know, right? I should just switch.
I mean, didn't you go to school longer? Like,
yeah, well, this is, you know, so real estate agents get paid by commission.
Right. Oh, okay.
So
it's
a percentage. It's a percentage of the property. Imagine a property that's worth $2 million.
Especially nowadays.
Yeah, exactly. And you get like 2.5% of that. That's substantial.
Right.
So real estate lawyers' fees are not like some people. And I'm saying, unfortunately, some lawyers charge as low as, and I say it's unfortunate because we should value our services more.
Right.
We went to school, we take a lot of liability on. When something happens on your deal, it's your lawyer you sue. People like, my lawyer didn't tell me. And so we take a lot of liability on. We should be compensated for that. And we also do a lot of work. I think there's a misconception that real estate is automated and anybody can do it. And, you know, like, it's run of the mill and, you know, anybody can just close a deal. So why should I pay you that much? But we're actually not that expensive. Some people charge as low as like $1,000 to close a deal, plus HST, and some people charge $2,500 and more. And at the end of the day, it's still not, like I always say, it's still not up to the commission, the HST on the commission that you pay your real estate agents. So not hating on agents at all, they work hard. But I am just so upset because clients always come, well, not always, but clients feel very confident to come to their real estate lawyers and ask for discounts and haggle like we're in the market. Hi, so how about, I have this person that will offer me this. What can you do for me? It's like, what? This is a professional service. What are you doing?
Yeah. So for someone that is looking for a real estate lawyer, what exactly do you think that they should be looking into? Like, what kind of firm do they go to? Like, how do you find the right real estate lawyer for you?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think that it depends on what's important to you, right?
Okay.
Some people don't care. They just want someone to close their transaction.
Right, okay.
And they just want to do it as cheaply as possible. If that's what you want, then find a lawyer that does it as cheaply as possible. Just know that if a lawyer is doing your transaction for cheap, they're also doing so many transactions because they have to make money. If I'm charging you $1,000 and it costs me $20,000 to just run my office, I need to do 20 files. If it costs me $30,000, I need to do 30 files. And so just know that you're one of 30 in the month.
Which means some details could be missed.
Exactly.
Or looked over, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
I mean, a lot of lawyers hire law clerks to do the work, but law clerks are not lawyers. So they might be very experienced, but there comes a point where you need a lawyer to look at it. I mean, every file, a lawyer should be looking at every file. You're going to have to meet with your clients anyways. Like, law clerks should not be meeting with clients. Unfortunately, I hear of situations like that where people, they don't close with the lawyer. It's the law clerk that met with them, right? So if that's something that's important to you, that you want time and attention,
and
then find a firm that's not only focused on the bottom line or focused on the amount. I'm not hating on lawyers at all because I know that it's competitive out there and people have to make money. In some markets, it's basically impossible. You won't get business, but that's a discussion we're having within the bar, that we need to learn to charge appropriately for our services. So some people want a lawyer that will pay attention to them, and so look for someone like that. Obviously, look for someone that's, referrals are always the best because someone has used the lawyer and they can tell you, this was my experience. You can look at reviews, although I always say with reviews, it's because some people get picky about the smallest things. But you can also look at reviews. Some lawyers don't have reviews because they don't have much of an online presence. But that's something you can look at. I think referrals are a good thing. Do you trust this person? Do you think, also some people care about representation. They want people from their community because they want to support their community. So when we talk about supporting Black-owned businesses, some people actually look for Black lawyers.
Now it's happening
because they want to support. They want to support people within the community. So it depends on what you're looking for, I would say. And just know that the higher you're paying, the more likely it is that the lawyer is doing fewer files and might obviously there are exceptions, but just be aware of those things.
Oh wow, okay, that's a lot. But you love it, you wouldn't change. So I have a question. Once you're a lawyer, can you just flip and flop?
You can, because you don't register anywhere and say, hey, I'm a real estate lawyer and therefore I need your permission to change. You can just be like, oh, I don't like this anymore. I want to.
Oh, that's good. That's good to know. That's really good to know. So you're not bound to anything.
You're not, no. Your law degree is general, usually.
Okay. But you know that, if you're going to law school, that's something you know, right? That's not something that somebody who...
I think you would. I would say you would know that. But, people have... Who knows what people are hearing out there, right?
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Wow, okay. So... Toronto. Let's just talk about how expensive it is and how the interest rates and all these things are going up now. What would you say to someone that is looking to purchase a home or renew their mortgage? What advice would you give a person that's looking to do that right now?
I think right now, with the reality of things, my advice would be, do not overextend yourself.
Okay, what do you mean by that?
So do not overextend yourself means do not sign up for more than what you can actually handle. You do all these online calculators telling you affordability, how much can I afford, and they'll give you like the maximum, and you're like, wow, I can like afford $1 million. It doesn't mean that you should realistically go get a house that's $1 million, especially if it means that your cash flow would be very like poor. You don't want to be what people call house poor, where all your resources are in a house. And then the reason I say that is, I mean, some people...
Wait, sorry, house poor means what exactly?
Like everything you own is in your house. Like,
oh, is it one of those people that you go to their house and it's cold because they can't afford to put the heat on because everything is going into their mortgage?
Exactly, exactly.
So that's house poor.
Yeah, that's house poor. So you have a house, but you don't have anything else.
Yeah, you can't afford anything else. Okay. So.
Yeah, and I know that, you know, for some people, it's, you know, they don't have a choice, you know, they need a place to live. I understand that. And the market is crazy, or they just want to rough it out. But just know that that's what you're getting into, right? Because like you said, interest rates are going up. And especially in the last couple of years during COVID, I've seen an increase in people that sign up for variable mortgages. So there are two types of mortgage interest rates. You can either get a fixed rate or a variable rate mortgage. A variable rate mortgage is tied to what banks call their prime rate. And their prime rate is just the rates they use to determine the interest rates of loans. So if you have a fixed rate mortgage and your mortgage rate is 3% and your mortgage term is for 5 years, over the course of 5 years, you will pay 3%.
It won't change.
Nothing's going to change. But if you have a variable rate mortgage, if prime goes up, and your rate is really based on something like prime minus 1% or prime plus 1%. So if the rates, like before the Bank of Canada hiked rates, I think last week, earlier in this month anyway, for the hiked interest rates, it was 2.45 for the big banks, the big five. Now they've hiked rates by 0.25%, so now everybody hiked their prime rate to 2.7. So if your rate was prime minus 1%, your rate would have been 1.45%. Everybody was bawling. People were getting mortgages. Your interest rate is 1%. Like, you know, like you can afford way more. But then now that the rates are going up, you could end up with like an interest rate of, it depends. Let's say it goes up to like, prime goes up to like 4%. So let's just say 4 minus 1 is 3%. So when you sign up for this mortgage, you were paying 1.45. And now you're paying 3% because that's just the way variable rates go. And people sign up for variable rates because recently with COVID and the slashing of rates, interest rates were low. So I saw one for 0.9. There was a bank offering 0.99%. Oh, wow. So people were like, oh, great.
Like everyone was hopping
on that. You plan based on that because you don't really know when it's going to go up. Like
does it go up often, or is that?
I wouldn't say so. I think there's been a lot of movements recently. Like I don't think they had increased rates since 2020, but don't quote me on that. Okay. I'm not an economist, but I feel like the rates were slashed, I think, in 2020 during COVID. And then since then they just increased it this year. And I think the movement is just because there's so much inflation and all of that. So it's not necessarily that there'll always be a lot of movements, but it does happen. And especially in this year where people are predicting that it will happen some more this year, my advice would be, if you're buying a house, give yourself some room. Just because the bank says you qualify for something doesn't mean that you should get the full thing. The bank might not take into account your other personal obligations. Like they'll take your bills into account. But if you're someone that donates money to charity, or you're someone that gives money to your family, or things like that, you don't want to be in a position where you can't do things that you actually want to do because you bought a house also expensive. And I know that it's so hard because Toronto, for example, is bonkers. It's going crazy. But yeah, that would be my advice. I think another piece of advice would be, if you can, and I know it's, you know, also so hard, if you can, make sure you put as much protection for yourself in your agreement. Like what happens is that when people get into like agreements of purchase and sale, they usually put like conditions to say like, this is conditional for 5 days on me getting satisfactory financing from my bank and on me getting a satisfactory home inspection report. So conditional means that like, yeah, we have an agreement, but if in 5 days, I have 5 days to determine like if the results of my due diligence is as satisfactory. If I don't want to get some house and I don't qualify for the mortgage. And then I'm stuck and then you sue me and all of that. The issue now is because the market is so competitive, people are crossing out of conditions and they're just going in flat. So you see the house today, you don't know what they've covered. You can only see so much, right? You don't know what's going on beneath the rug, for example. And people are just like, that's okay, I'll take it and deal with the issues later. So if you're going to do that because some people are saying their offers are not even getting considered if they have any condition at all. So if you're going to do that, just know that if you have a budget for anything you might have to fix, because
So I guess it's fair to say don't rush the process too, right? Like budget obviously well, make sure you're not just getting into something just for, because you have
FOMO.
Like,
a lot of people are going into real estate because they have fear of missing out. They're like, if it just keeps getting worse, it just keeps getting worse.
But then it ends up costing you in the long run, right?
It does keep getting worse. Like we don't know when this bubble is going to burst, if ever.
Canada's big, guys. Canada's huge. Go live somewhere.
Okay.
Everybody just wants to live within the GTA, but like there's so many.
There's that.
Yeah.
I'm hearing that Ontarians are becoming a menace now, Bessa, because we're buying up all their property and jacking up all their prices there too. But I guess it's valid that people want to get into the market. Very valid.
Yeah, that's
and that they don't want to be priced out. It's true, but you should measure it. Like, don't just do it because you're scared, but you can't afford it. Like, if you can afford it and you can make it work, great. If maybe you were saving $500, now you're saving $250 because you're now putting an extra $250 in the house. Okay, if that works for your circumstances. But if you actually will buy the house and then you can't actually pay it, like I'm telling you, TD is not joking when they tell you that if you default on your mortgage, they're gonna sell your house, and then all the money that you've put in and all the work and everything, it's gone. I mean, I'm not saying that you don't get anything back from, like, they take their mortgage and their costs and everything, and they pay you the difference. But like, imagine the emotional toll that takes on you, and then you don't have a house anymore.
Oh my gosh, that's
so
crazy.
just be aware of your risks. You have to do what you have to do, but be aware of your risk.
Be aware of the risk. Okay, fair enough. So, for $200,000, what can I get in Toronto right now? Why are you laughing? I want to know. Like, if I have $200,000, what can I get in Toronto right now from what you've seen?
Get a luxury car. Then you sleep in the trunk or in the back seat.
Oh my God, are you serious?
You put on you pay for gas. You heat up the car.
For $200,000, that's a lot of money. Nothing. Not even a one bedroom.
Maybe a parking spot. The parking spot's in the condo.
Are you serious right now?
No, there's no.
There's nothing
which
at all.
One bedroom?
Okay, a bachelor. A studio?
No, I haven't seen 200,000 in Toronto.
Wow.
No, even if it's run down, even the land costs more.
I know. That's true.
So maybe a strip of like a lane or something.
Oh boy,
I don't know.
Crazy.
But you know what? I'm not a real estate agent, so I'm not really out there looking.
Right.
But 200, when you find one, tell me.
Right? Like, oh my goodness. So, do you have any final words to just send people with some nuggets as we close off the show today?
Well, I would say just, make sure you make your, like, any real estate decision that you're making, make sure it's the right one for you. I think that's my biggest piece of advice. Just make sure that any decisions you make in real estate are the right one for you. Don't just do things because other people are doing it and cashing out. Like, you hear success stories. Real estate is a place where if it pays off, it pays off big, especially in today's market. But you might not hear as much about the horror stories. There are horror stories, and like for people that invest, for example, they have horror stories with their tenants sometimes. When you get a bad tenant and you try to get them out of your house, it's terrible. Or you get a fixer-upper, where you want to buy a property that's run down, you want to fix it and sell for profit, and then you find out the foundation has problems, or basically it's more than you bargained for. So I would say, like, when you're doing real estate, make sure that you do a lot of research and that you get into something that's for your needs. I saw someone comment about she invested in real estate. She was doing fixer-uppers. She was flipping houses, and she hated it. And she realized that it wasn't for her. So while it might work for somebody else, it might not work for you. And just make sure that, you get into it for the right reasons, and you're prepared, and you're aware of the risks. Talk to a lawyer before you enter into like agreements with people.
That's true.
Yeah, just make sure that you protect yourself and you do things that are actually right for you.
Wow, that was amazing. Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
No problem.
It was amazing to have such a, a strong, smart, intelligent woman like yourself, and we're celebrating Women's History Month, so I'm really happy that you were able to come and just kind of educate us a bit and, help those that don't really understand, how real estate works, but they're looking to eventually get a house and get in the market. So thank you so much. We really appreciate you for coming on the show
thank you
today.
so much for having me. Such an honor.
Thank you for watching Open for Discussion. If you like what you see, don't forget to follow us on all of our social media platforms. Also, like, subscribe, and tap that notification button for more videos. And we'll see you next time.